The South African Police Union, Sapu, has raised concern about the mental health of police officers following numerous reports of officers engaging in gender-based violence. A police constable was recently sentenced to 30 years in prison for the murder of a friend and his pregnant fiancée.
Another former police officer is on trial for allegedly shooting his girlfriend in the parking lot of Tembisa Hospital in Gauteng almost a year ago. These two incidents were amongst the number of violent incidents involving police officers in the previous year. Joining us this morning to discuss this further is the national spokesperson of the South African Police Union, Lesiba Thobakgale. Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. We hope that we're having a bit of difficulty hearing you. We hope that you're able to hear us and that we can sort out the connection. And the first question I'd like to ask would be that whilst we cannot excuse violence, we can't say that it's okay for the police in any capacity to be violent towards their families or their friends. But there are certain underlying factors that may have triggered this. So I'd like you to please share with us, what may have been some of the primary factors that have increased violence amongst police officers towards civilians.
Good morning, Osaroki and Olive, and also to your viewers back at home. The truth of the matter is the current status of the South African Police Services is that we have a component called employee health and wellness, which in its nature, it is not functional. It has since collapsed, which they clearly play a critical role when it comes to the mental health of our police officers. The nature of police work here in our country, it is indeed a violent type of work. It is a very traumatizing type of work because they attend to different crime scenes. They attend to murders, they attend to horrific accidents, they attend to suicides and so on. When they go back to their police stations, they do not get anyone to give them debriefing because debriefing is indeed needed immediately after one has attended to such a crime scene. And when they go back home without being debriefed, the only thing that comes out is cases of domestic violence, because when a member is telling themselves that they are strong, that they are capable of handling what they have consumed from those crime scenes, when they go back home, the reality starts to kick in, and then we see it through domestic violence. And we need to be clear that we do not condone any form of violence coming from anyone being a police officer or anyone being a member of a society. But the collapse of employee health and wellness, here we don't have psychologists, we don't have psychiatrists, we don't have social workers whom can give our members the debriefing that they need, clearly because employee health and wellness, when those professionals, they come into the system of the South African Police Services, they get to be militarized, they get given ranks, and whatever that they write in terms of recommendations, those recommendations, they get to be undermined by subs management. Those are the crises that we are faced with. They end up leaving the subs. That is why we do not have those professionals. They go and work in other departments which are not militarized. Those are the current challenges that our members of the South African Police Services are faced with as a reality in South Africa.
Mr. Thobakgale, we're going to go on a break in a bit, but one thing I would like you to speak on, is trying to understand better. When we're talking about mental health issues for the police officers, and from what you've said, there's a couple of issues, underlying issues that the South African government, South African Police, Commission has not fully addressed on behalf of officers. But are we seeing here the effects of mental health stress on the officers that is being played out as violence, provoked or unprovoked against civilians, or are we just seeing the lack of proper self-control with regards violence against women and gender-based violence in South Africa? Because the two cases that we cited are violence against women or violence against a spouse or a girlfriend. So are we seeing, the general, a clear picture of what, violence against women is in South Africa, but now we're seeing it, from the police, and we're blaming mental health?
When we are looking at us as South Africans, South Africa in its nature, it is a violent country in its nature, clearly informed by the history of our country. From the apartheid era, when we went into the democratic dispensation, there was no time, there was not even efforts that were taken in order to debrief the whole country so that we could be able to pave a way forward in moving forward, forsaking what has happened, but dealing with it, not just abandoning. It is like you just leave something, you just hope that no, it will sort itself out. So that is even visible through the crime stats that we see. The types of crimes that we see in our country are violent crimes. You cannot be in a normal country where you have around 67 people being killed in a day, murdered in a day. That is not a normal kind of a society. So that violence in nature, it is there. It is there within the society at large. And when it comes to police officers as well, because they are the members of the society, the very same, some of the ills from the society, they happen to creep in because they are human beings as well.
What really is the way forward in this case if we don't have access to therapists for the police officers? Is it just something that we don't have enough therapists for the police officers, or in South Africa as a whole, we don't have enough of therapy and mental health assistance for South Africans?
As a union, we are specific to therapy that is related to our members of the South African Police Services. Because here we are talking and we are referring to a component that is found within the South African Police Services. And as an organization, we took this matter up where we have tabled the position paper at the Bargaining Council, where we were clear that we need to have a clear policy, and we need to also make sure that employee health and wellness does not fall any longer under the militarized structure of the South African Police Services. That is why we tabled that position paper, which speaks of the structure and policy of employee health and wellness, where they can function in the police, but they are not falling within the structure of the police, so that we could be able to attract the professionals that we need, the psychologists, the psychiatrists, the social workers, who can be able to give debriefing to our members when they attended to such scenes and so on, so that our members can be able to access this critical debriefing that they need after attending every gruesome scene, so that when they go home, their mental state can be in shape. And also they can be able to practice as professionals, because you cannot allow professionals to come, and when they come in the service, you militarize them so that you can control them. They need to practice freely because they report to their specific bodies, whom they account to, and so on. Allow them to be professionals, give and render these critical services to our members in order to improve the mental health of our police officers, so that even when the society is so much engaged with this issue, the problem which the president has declared, the gender-based violence, as another pandemic that we are dealing with, at least our members of the South African Police Services, their mental health can be in order, so they can be able to deal with mental health issues. They can be able to deal with any case of gender-based violence, because it is them who are carrying this responsibility together with the members of Community Policing Forum in order to eradicate the issue of gender-based violence in our country.
All right, thank you very much for joining us, and we do hope that this comes to an end very soon, and we're not having conversations about gender-based violence, and also that the mental health of police officers are protected. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.